And welcome once again, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Quoth the Raven. This is October 3rd, 2019. I am your host, Lewis Bright Raven, writer, artist, editor, studio manager, creator with over 26 years' experience in comics, science fiction, fantasy, horror, and the role playing game industry and other multimedia markets. This week, our topic is going to be ladies rule, haters drool. I've been asked in previous episodes, and I'll get back to the original question of that during our question session about women in comics and why aren't they here or why aren't they getting promoted and so on. So we're going to talk about that tonight, and we're going to do some reviews of comics featuring women talent, and we're going to talk about a lot of different things pertaining to that side of the market tonight. So before we get too far into it, let's get into our questions. And tonight's questions are sponsored by Lipton Iced Tea, I guess. Anyway, I'm drinking tea tonight, unsweet, but let's see what we got here. Here we go. First question. Our first question tonight is: Wow, you sure seem to hate comics retailers. You mad, bro? Can't get your comics in stores? From Tom Marks in Michigan. Well, no, Tom, I'm not mad. Not about getting my comics in stores or particularly, but we'll talk about comics retailers in a future episode, probably about 2 or 3 weeks up the road. We'll get into an extensive examination of that and my views on that at that time. So, but you wanted me to address it this week, so basically, I don't hate them. I just have frustration with some of the attitude of some of the retail community, and I've talked about that on Indie Volt and other channels. So I'll get more extensive into that on a future edition of QTR, um, probably after the Halloween era, probably November, but we'll see. Our next question is from Anonymous. When are you going to talk about other stuff besides comics? Like what movies and TV shows you watch and stuff like that? Well, we're going to talk a little bit about film and television later this evening regarding some of the women uh, stuff pertaining to pop culture and how that's being presented and how it's being received by certain audiences tonight. So hopefully tonight we'll be doing about that, and we'll talk about more film and television stuff as well down the road. Bob M. from Illinois says you cover a lot of older comics in your reviews that I am having a difficult time finding in my local comic shop. What are you currently reading that I might actually have a chance at finding? Well, Bob, most of the stuff I've been presenting has been recently released product. Um, and some of the stuff that we're going to talk about tonight came out as recently as yesterday. So I don't know if while you're having problems finding stuff at your local comic shop, other than your local comic shop just doesn't carry stuff. And there's a lot of retailers who just don't order anything. I hate to say that, but it's the truth. Um, so, but tonight, because you mentioned that, and we had a conversation privately about this, I'm going to start putting a lot of trades as opposed to single issues up Not because I don't want people to buy the singles. I do want people to buy single issues. But if people are having that hard of a time finding the singles, then I'm going to give you the trade information that has the ISBN numbers so you can write them down and go to a bookstore or go to a library and get that information and possibly get access to those books that way if a comic shop uh, isn't fulfilling your needs as a reader. Okay. Our next question is from Santos R. from Round Lake, Illinois. And he asks, do you believe that today's comics creators are really just wannabe movie writers who are just using comics as a platform to get their content noticed and picked up by studios for film and television? And then he follows up with, are you ever going to bring back Charge of the Ram from when you did the comic strip in high school? But we're going to go back to the first question, which is about comics creators becoming more oriented in film and television. Well, Santos, there is a contingent within the industry that is more geared towards Hollywood, so to speak. I don't think it's a situation, though, where it's predominant. There are people who are complaining and saying it is, but I don't see it that way. I see more of a cross pollination between media markets because comics aren't selling and a lot of creators aren't making money at it. So they're going over to film or television where they can in order to just earn a living more than anything else. But, are they actually building a platform for or using comics as a platform to make films? Not necessarily. If that were the case, then there'd be a whole lot, even more of films and television shows based on comics. And even though it seems like there's a giant cornucopia of them out there right now, the reality is that it's less than 1% of the comics material that's actually in existence. So, whether you think you're getting the cream of the crop or whatever, you're really not. It's just luck of the draw and who gets a license to that material and can get a producer and get it picked up by a network or get it picked up by a film company that's willing to release it. And it's much more complex and complicated than just saying, well, I'm going to make a comic and then make a movie or a TV show. Hopefully I'll be able to get some creators who are experienced in that as guests about that, and we'll talk about that down the road as a future segment to Quoth the Raven. I'm going to try and invite some guests in about that because it's a very good topic, Santos, and I appreciate your question. As for your other question about me bringing back Charge of the Ram, Charge of the Ram Charge of the Ram was originally a comic strip that I did back in '86 when I was a freshman in high school at Graves Lake Community High School, and Santos was one of my fellow students. Basically, what the situation was, it was a comic strip based on the school mascot, which was a ram. And at the time, nobody really knew what the mascot's name was. And so I had been one of two people that were doing a comic strip, and my idea was to have the students nominate names and vote on it and give the character, the mascot, a name. And the other person was a junior or sophomore or junior, I don't remember anymore. He actually went and did the research and found that the mascot's name was Willie the Ram. And he did his comic strip, but since his was technically correct, in terms of historical accuracy and stuff, that's what the school paper had to go with. Despite the fact that the fans are the students, the fans, if you will, wanted my version because they wanted to rename the Ram. But school board ruled against it. And so I ended up doing my own strip with my version of the character, where a character had to get a name, but I didn't have the students vote on it at that point. I just called him Charger. And because, well, Dodge Charger, Rams charge, so charge with a Ram, type thing, because Rams symbol for the Dodge vehicles and stuff like that. So anyway, as for bringing it back, yes, I will bring it back. It's not going to be like what the comic strip was in the newspaper back in '86, though. It's going to be completely reimagined, and I don't know exactly when I'm going to get to that. I've got it's like the third project down the pike for me after Blake and Terror and Intergalactic Thieves, which is a graphic novel for 2020, and then a one-shot for Space of the Alien. So I don't know. After that, I'll probably get the Charger after that. So it'll be a while, Santos, but you'll see it. God's willing. So our next question is from Chris. And he asks, I know this has nothing to do with comics, but I saw your columns about wrestling on IndieVolt, and I was wondering what your thoughts were about the current state of the wrestling industry. Well, that's a little bit too complex for tonight's topic, because we're trying to get into the women in comics and women in entertainment media. But in short, my view is there's a lot of really good promotions out there right now. Basically, we're almost drowning in riches. So, I'm not going to sit here and pontificate on what I like better or not and stuff like that right now. It's not really what I need to be. But in short, hold on a second. There we go. Something's wrong here on my YouTube. Okay. There we go. Sorry about that, folks. But yes, that's what we're going to be doing now with wrestling. I'll talk about that again probably later this year. I'll do a full segment on that and talk about what I think about the shows, because AEW wrestling just started up yesterday, and NXT finally came into regular television like 2 weeks ago. So, give them a little bit of time to breathe and let audiences see the stuff and stuff like that, as well as talk about what's Impact Wrestling is coming back to Access and stuff. So we're waiting for a couple more weeks before we get into that. Our next question will be, did you see the attack made on artist Diana Greenhalgh by your boy Zach, also known as Richard Meyer? Richard Meyer's his actual name, on his YouTube channel. What are your thoughts on that situation? And the question's from Denise Calvert. Well, Denise, just a second. I believe, if I check something real quick, yes, okay. I'm going to be sharing with you what's going on with that. Just a second. There we go. This is Diana, and Diana's a 16, maybe even more years veteran, or not veteran, active member of the comic book industry. And back in 2015, she did this Deadpool poster as a licensed commission from Fox Studios and Marvel in relation to the Deadpool movie, the first one. And she got a specific license for herself as well to sell this image as a poster. Now, she recently did a convention in, I think it was Rose City Comic Con, if I remember correctly. And I forgive me, I don't remember where that is. I think it's Oregon or Washington. And she was a guest creator, and she was there, and some fans brought a cell phone case that had this image on it, and it was an illegal licensed bootleg merchandise. Now, this is not the first time that this has happened. Diana has consistently and regularly defended her property, her visual design here. at least 5 other occasions that I'm aware of against other bootleg materials for T-shirts and mugs and other stuff that they didn't have the rights to use this image. But in any case, she contacted the show management about the vendor who was selling this particular image on the cell phone case, and apparently this vendor had multiple complaints against them for multiple images from multiple artists. And she was asked by the management to go over to the vendor's station and make sure there was no additional pieces of hers on display for sale. I don't know if there was or wasn't, but in any case, they made the vendor put away the material, but they never confiscated the illegal materials, and they never asked the vendor to leave. And as it turns out, the vendor kept selling this image. They just did it under the table so that no one could see that they had it out. But if someone asked about it, they would still sell it. And Diana heard about this and rose enough stink with the management that it became news on Bleeding Cool. And she said she wasn't going to come back as a guest to the show. And apparently the show had asked her to prove that she was the official artist on this, which is really obnoxious of the convention runner, because when you vet the artist as a guest, this is probably one of her top 3 images that people know her for. So if you have her as a guest as a show, I think you should automatically know that, yeah, that's her work. It's pretty much a given. But they made her actually go through her old computer and find her paperwork for the licensing and prove that it was hers. Whereas it was she was just not treated very well. And I don't blame her for her reactions. But a lot of people have basically ridiculed her because of the Bleeding Cool article, and called her a SJW, which is a negative term meaning social justice warrior. Anybody who's not a straight white male and isn't, the cool people gets thrown under this label and run over by certain people in the community. And I'll get into that. And we're going to show an example of that here. In just a second, I'm going to find it. What happened to it? I know it's here. Where did it go? I'll find it. Just give me a second. Here we go.
Hey, look. They got one of those purple men.
Apologies. I'm trying to load someone else's video for their nonsense.
Your forearms and your upper arms are going to be the same length. When you bend your arm, your wrist did not create. And again, in most situations, even if they did create them, often they don't right. Whatever. The prints. And the unspoken thing is that basically no one has permission to sell what they sell.
Well, basically, I went to go get the video that I was going to refer to. It's by your boy Zach again, Richard Meyer, and he does a video where he basically rips apart Diana, and he comes up with a lot of falsified information. He says, well, all these artists sell illegal artwork. They don't have the rights to sell their artwork as a general rule. Because they're not their characters and that. So she didn't have rights. Well, she did have rights, and a lot of people have the rights. The reason he doesn't know that is because, well, he sucks ass as a creator, and he's not good enough to warrant or receive a license from Marvel or anybody else. Well, I'm a writer. Well, good. I don't care, stop criticizing because there are licenses that artists get. I've done it myself several times for limited edition print runs. Mm-hmm. And that's what it is strictly for. And if someone were to come and take that artwork from my prints and use it for a t-shirt or a mug or a cell phone case, Marvel could come back at me and say, hey, you illegally allowed this image to be used this way. And even if I didn't, they could either sue me for that under the terms of the license, or they could ban me from getting any more licensing work with them on grounds of I didn't follow the lead. And that's what Diana is doing when she's going after people who are bootlegging her art. She's protecting her right to license for future artworks through her clients. And there's nothing wrong with that. Every artist in this business should be doing that. So he right there, he's completely off base. Yes, there's a lot of people who do one-off sketches, and I do that too at shows. There's a lot of people who do prints that shouldn't be allowed to do prints, that don't have licenses, don't have anything else to sell but prints of characters they don't own. And that is a problem in our industry. But to assume that someone who's got 16 years of experience has worked for Marvel on X-Men and Nova, has worked on Marvel Masterpieces, has worked, for Fox Studios, would be that artist, would be an example of such an artist, is preposterous. So I'm a little bit annoyed with him. Once he gets done with that, though, he proceeds to criticize the artwork and start talking about the anatomy of the art or the layout of the composition and all these other things. Again, this is a writer. What his actual qualifications are to be critiquing art, other than I don't like it, I'd love to know. But he's allowed not to like the art, but he's basically saying, well, why would anyone even want to copy this and steal it? It's not even good enough to be doing that, type thing. And that kind of snotty attitude is the hate, the discrimination, the sexism, the stuff that is really poisoning our market right now. And this guy makes a living at doing this. Every day he does a video where he's basically attacking someone else to build up his own brand. And that's one of the reasons we're going to get more into him a little bit later. But my view is Zach, Richard, whatever the hell he wants to call himself this week, he pretty much kiss my ass and shut the hell up. That's my view on that. And good luck, Diana, on everything. And hope you get more work because you deserve it. You've busted your ass off for it. My next question is, have you seen, it's from Anonymous, have you seen Spider-Man Far From Home or X-Men Dark Phoenix? And if so, what did you think of them? Well, that's getting into film and television. No, I have not seen them yet. I don't often get to go to the movie theaters unless one of my friends like Tracy Hollingsworth or John Norris go with me. So if I'm not there, that's why. And I haven't gotten around to getting a DVD, access to a DVD yet. So I'm in no rush. I saw the first Spider-Man film with Tom Holland in it, Homecoming. It was okay. It wasn't anything spectacular. I'm in no rush, and the X-Men movies have been lackluster, to say the least, in my opinion. So I'm in no rush to see either one of them, but eventually I will. There's other things I want to see, like Ad Astra, Gemini Man. I think it's Abominable. It's a kind of a computerized cartoon film about a young girl who discovers an abominable snowman in her closet or something. From I don't know if that's DreamWorks or Pixar who made that, or some other animation film company. But those are the three that are on my interest list at the moment, and hopefully I'll see them sometime later this month, and we can talk about that. But that's my views on that stuff right now. Our next question. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts about the upcoming Batwoman TV series on the CW network? And this comes from Karen in Michigan. Well, to be honest with you, I've seen a little bit of the preview, and we'll probably share that in just a few moments with the audience. The character is portrayed by a lesbian actress, because the character is a lesbian in the TV show and in the comic. The current Batwoman is lesbian. I don't have a problem with that. I have no problem with representation of that, either in the comic or in the TV series. But there has always been a part of comic book fandom, society, that has been basically trash talking the property because of that element of the property, and I think that's silly. I've heard a lot of fans complaining, "Oh, you get a Batman TV series? What we doing with Batwoman? You should have a Batman series first." Well, you had one. It's called Gotham. I'm sorry if they didn't put Batman in the suit and have him beat up everybody, and he was a little boy, and it was more about Commissioner Gordon and Alfred Pennyworth and others protecting Gotham before he became Batman. The fact is that was your Batman show, for better or worse. And so, now Batman has left Gotham, which is what's going on as the premise of Batwoman. I don't know why he's left. That'd probably be something presented somewhere in the series, I would hope. Maybe Batman will appear in Batwoman at some point. But let's take a quick look and share the first look trailer with that.
Crows represent order, security, safety.
Batman gave up on us. The Bat's not coming back.
Something's up. Eyes everywhere.
Hello, said Alice. Shall we believe the crows will protect us?
Agent Moore, you copy? Do you copy?
Sophie's missing. I thought you should know. Hey, Dad.
We're gonna find her.
Then let me help.
Bad idea. Where'd you get this? What happened to staying out of it? Is there something you'd like to report to your squad? Ran in without proper backup.
I do not want her getting in the way. Curiouser and curiouser. What do you want? I need you to send your father a message.
You're all I have left, Kate. And I don't want to lose you too. Wayne Security. You owe my boss a new door.
Your boss is my cousin.
You don't want to go near that. You were seriously not supposed to know what's down there.
So I have this thing with rolls. I need you to fix his suit.
The suit is literal perfection.
It will be. When it fits a woman.
Bruce Wayne.
Awesome, hilarious, handsome. I think I'm him. I'm not about to let a man take credit for a woman's work.
Now, from what you saw there was definitely a few comments there or elements. I'm not about to let a man take credit for a woman's work. The people who are the SJW haters, or that's what's ruining comics and entertainment today, take offense to that line because they can't handle that a person who is not a straight white male or just a straight male can be effective, particularly in any walk of life, let alone superheroism or vigilantism or whatever you want to call being Batman, Batwoman is. There's a lot of interesting elements to the trailer. The hero we need is here. They cut off the you can call it the hero we need is her. Yeah, we do need more female heroes and more female representation and more characters that are gay represented as heroic characters who are willing to sacrifice for the betterment of society. Why shouldn't we have that representation presented in our media and in entertainment? It's not exclusive to any race, gender, sexuality. The question is whether or not they're going to sensationalize it and make it bigger than it is. I don't think that's what's going to happen because in Supergirl, there's her adopted sister, who's head of the DEO, is gay and has a gay cop partner in that show, and it's not that big of a deal. So I don't really think that'll necessarily be the major thing. I think the main focus here, and I don't know if you guys caught this in the trailer, is the character's father may be corrupt in causing some of the problems with what's going on in Gotham, and so maybe that is more of a focal point that we should be focusing on in terms of storytelling. But we'll see. Now, am I going to watch it? It starts up Sunday night, this Sunday, October 6th. I don't know what time, like probably 8 or 9. Am I going to watch it? I don't know yet. Going up against Sunday Night Football, going up against, I forget what's on some of the other networks, but there's a lot of good shows on Sundays. It's going to have a tough road to climb. But yeah, it's a possibility. Depends on how I'm feeling that particular day, who's playing, what's going on that particular day, if I'm up for it or not. But I think it should get a lot of people watching. So let's get back to the questions. Whoops, wrong folder. I apologize. And this comes back to our original question. I've asked this before, but I haven't gotten around to answering it, so I'll ask again. Or rather, you haven't, meaning me, hadn't gotten around to answering it. I thought I did, but maybe I didn't. But she's asked me again, why aren't there more women working in the comic book industry today? And that's from Erica T. from South Carolina. There are women working in the comic book industry, just not being heralded and marketed properly. They're not being supported by retailers, by the media that covers comics correctly. And that gives the illusion that the women aren't there and that the women who are there don't deserve to be there. And that's, again, has to do with the hatred and the sexism and problems with comics hate. that is prevalent, unfortunately, in our industry. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But for now, we're going to get into the reviews, talk about some more women in comics, and show some really good stuff tonight. And talk about who these women are, what they've contributed, and why people should be supporting them. So let's see what we've got here. But before we do that, if you have questions for me, you can email them to quoththeraven, LBR72 @gmail.com, subject QTR questions. Please indicate whether you want your name and locale read on air. You don't have to have your name and or locale, either one, mentioned if I use your question. As you noticed, I put anonymous up because some just don't, they just want to ask anonymous questions, and that's fine. So there's that. And so if that's what you would like to have any other questions for me about comics or wrestling or so what's on the media and film and television, go ahead and ask us that question, and we'll get right on that for you as we can. But let's get to our reviews this week. And we're going to start with another person that your boy Zach likes to attack. And that woman is Nnedi Okorafor. And this is her book, LaGuardia, trade paperback. It costs $19.99. Publishers Burger Books, Dark Horse Comics. The writer, again, is Nnedi Okorafor. The artist is Tana Full with James Devlin. The genre is science fiction. I guess I can read the ISBN numbers for you guys. 978-1-50671-05-4. It was released last July. This is the trade collection of the first 4 issues. The book's about an alternate reality world where in the future aliens have integrated with Earth society, and a pregnant Nigerian American doctor whose name is Future Nwafo, I can't even pronounce it, Future Nwafo Chikalaweba has just smuggled an illegal alien plant named Let Me Live through LaGuardia International and Interstellar Airport. And that's not the only thing she's hiding. She and Let Me become part of a community of human and alien immigrants, but as their crusade for equality in society continues and the birth of her child nears, Future and her entire world begins to change. This book is about not just immigration policies of current times in America. It's a good analogy and metaphor for that. And some of the problems and the intolerance towards immigrants and towards anybody who's not a Caucasian American-born citizen in the society in our country today. But it's also a metaphor for different historical cases where we have had immigration problems, such as the Japanese concentration camps that we had here in California during World War II, the concentration camps in Auschwitz, Germany, during World War II, and just the slave trades and other issues that are going on in the African nations and have been going on for decades, if not centuries. And it's still, that's what this is about. It's very topical and it's very intellectually driven. As for the change, she's becoming part plant as she gets nearer to her birth, because apparently the child is part Let Me Live or whatever. And she and her husband are having issues about that, and whether or not it's her biological changes are going to change how she perceives and how she is perceived by her husband and by other people. So it's very interesting concept work, and unfortunately, it hasn't had a lot of reception. I mean, it's received a lot of notoriety and positive stuff from people who actually know what they're talking about. But again, we got people like your boy Zach who have to run their mouths, and they just kind of ruin it for everybody else. Let me see if I can find. There we are. Now read this. LaGuardia number 3. Now, first off, he didn't get the first 2 issues. He went and got the 3rd issue of a 4-issue series. Okay? So he's in the middle of the storyline. He bought this book. I bought this SJW comic book to roast it. And then something half amazing happened. Well, let's see what the idiot has to say for himself.
And this is going to be an interesting video. So I bought this book to roast it because it looked cringy, and then something half amazing happened. So obviously I review books, but one of the kind of hallmarks of the channel is roasting really cringe books. And when I see a woman pregnant with a plant, I go, this is probably going to be pretty stupid. And it's also Nnedi Okorafor, who has written, she's about 50-50, like good stuff and terrible stuff, at least for mainstream comic book stuff. I haven't read her sci-fi novels. So I got all excited to roast this, and then it was pretty good, except for it was pretty bad. I was literally...
Now, you heard that. It was pretty good, but it was pretty bad. No, Zach, it's a good book. It's pretty good, but it's pretty bad is because it has to be pretty bad because his audience needs to hear. Sorry about that. His audience needs to hear the negativity from it. His audience needs to hear him slam this creator. This is ridiculous. This is what Comicsgate really is. This is what Comics Hate really is. If you take it upon yourself to go buy someone else's book for the sole purpose to rip it up live on video for entertainment purposes, you're a fucking asshole. Period. And if that's how you got to build your brand so that people will buy your books, because Myers does his own comics, which don't sell through Diamond, and I'll get to that in a little bit. If that's what you got to do, that means probably your work is what's really shit. Let's be honest. But this is what this guy does. And I'm not even going to bother playing the rest of that video because what he does is gives half-assed compliments and then retracts them with criticisms. To say, well, it's good, but it's not good. It's good, it's not good. It's 50-50. It's kind of good, it's kind of bad. No, it's not. It's a good book. It's a good series. And you saw his attitude. Well, I thought it'd be dumb because it's a woman impregnated by a plant. That's dumb. That's dumb. No, it's science fiction. It's something different. And that's what this industry needs, is something different to be interesting. And I'm not saying you have to like it. I'm not saying you have to buy it. But you don't need to ridicule it so that other people go, well, that's not something I want to even look at and give consideration to. Because when you do that, that's the poison that is killing our industry. But that's what this guy does. And he does this to Nnedi Okorafor. You mentioned her Marvel books. he ripped the hell out of her Marvel stuff. And I'm not going to go into an extensive period on that, but basically he was saying, well, she writes it like she's the character as opposed to a character being separate. And I have a black wife, and I'm a white guy, and I have a black wife, so I know what black people talk about. No, you don't know how black people talk, because black people talk different ways in different dialects in different parts of the country and different parts of the world. So don't assume because your wife is black that she talks, say that the writer or another black female character talks the same way as your wife would, or any other black woman would. That's foolish. But that's the kind of stuff that Zach does. So what we're going to do with reviews is show you what we're going to talk about. And we're going to show you the book properly. Now, I gave this book 3.5 stars out of 5. I had not read the trade paperback. I got the original singles, all 4 issues. Part of the reason is because I've known Nettie for probably 16 years, maybe a little bit longer, and I like her science fiction work, so I thought I'd give it a shot. But anyway, this is some of the artwork for it. I can't make it any larger than that. I apologize. But she's talking to the alien, Let Me Live, that is now growing throughout her backyard in her suburb in New York. And as you can see, she's quite pregnant and stuff. Let's see. It's about a month before she gives birth, and she mentions that she feels like she's seeing everything through 2 sets of eyes, meaning her and the unborn child. And the plant replies, "Oh, that's nothing. I see through hundreds," because of all the different plants and islets and flowers that have spread from his or its growth throughout the yard. And she goes, "Well, you're not making me feel any better." So, it's kind of funny in that respect. Cute humor. And of course, they were from Nigeria, which is where she's from. She's a Nigerian American creator, Nettie is. And the gentleman's name is Citizen, which is, kind of a analogy and metaphor for American citizen versus the immigrant, which is what the female is an immigrant from Nigeria coming to America. The guy's saying, "Never imagined plants could be my in-laws. Life is so strange." But the more importantly thing is when she goes to the airport, she makes a comment, and you can't see this, the 2-panel spread above. It says, "Scanning a pregnant woman. They're even afraid of the unborn." And of course, the 2 security guards are like, "Full interview. Yeah, I see. Miss, come with me, please." Yeah, damn it. Because she made a remark, which is really, pretty darn straight up. I mean, because she's black and she's pregnant, we better do a full scan and figure out what that's in that scanner. Might have weapons inside herself or something. Might be carrying drugs, drug mule, whatever nonsense that they can come up with. And that's part of the problem here is she's talking about the difficulties that not just Nigerian immigrants, but all immigrants are having getting into America, and doing a metaphorical representation of what is going on and making a statement about our society. And that's what science fiction is supposed to do. Science fiction is supposed to take the elements of what's going on in our society and make commentary about it and make audiences think about what's going on in society around them. And to put that in a comic book is a wonderful thing, because it's not just two people with superpowers beating up on each other. It's not might makes right. It's not, who's more muscle bound, or who's, it's complex stuff. It's things that make you want to pursue a better understanding of society. And that's the kind of comics that I want to read. That's why I think comics that all of us should want to read. It may not necessarily be this particular book. You may not like that artwork by Tana Ford. Tana also worked with Nettie on Shuri over at Marvel, which is the Black Panther's little sister from the movie. And she's also done some other Marvel work, but that's not the point. The point here is it's different. It's something that makes you think about what you want to, what your world around you is, in a way that is not necessarily confrontational, the way it is when we see things on Facebook, or we see things on the film, where people are not film, but talk shows, talk radio, or CNN, your Bill Maher's, your Wolf Blitzers, your whomevers that are talking about political rhetoric, and really aren't looking at the human condition of these things per se. They're looking more at it from media perspective and political drive, rather than the human condition. And this comic's more about the human condition, and I like that about that. So, I'm going to see here if we got any more here. No, we don't. Okay. That's what we're talking about with Nettie Okorafor. And I recommend that book for anyone over the age of 16. Let's see if I can get that back for you. Age of 16 up, I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. Like I said, it just came out last July. And so if you're looking for something, you're open-minded, and you want to look at something that makes you think, this is probably a good book for you. We will now go on to our next book for the evening. If I can get the right one. Okay, there we go. There we go. Captain Ginger, Volume 1, trade paperback. Publisher is Ahoy Comics. The main creative team is writer Stuart Moore and artist June Brigman. Roy Richardson has an additional story, and Veronica Gandini is the colorist. Again, the genre is science fiction. The ISBN number is 978-0998-044217. And it was released last June 18th. This is, again, a collection of stories. I believe it was a four issue series again in the singles. I got it in the singles. What it's about is about these cats who inherit a starship when their human owners die off, and they become sort of humanoid cats, and yet the kittens are still cat, like little kittens. Well, a lot of these, they're very much humanoid cats, and they keep their feline nature as they try to create functions as humans to keep the ship functioning and traverse the stars and find a new home for themselves. Can they overcome their own natural feline instincts against impossible odds? I reckon this is a 5-star book. I can't recommend it highly enough. It's for 10 and up. It's for cat lovers. It's for people who like cool art. That is clean and crisp. And here's the first one of some of the pages. As you can see, they're in spacesuits, some of them, and they've discovered rats, and now they're going to eat the rats because that's what cats do. They kill and eat the rats. Fresh food, fresh game, fun. You know. And what's funny is after they've gone after the animals, the guy who's talking in the first panel on the right side page is, "Are you guys serious? You know, I know it's been tough for the last year and a half that we've been doing this. It's not been easy, but we've learned to work together like the feeders used to. The feeders being the humans. You know, so you know." He's like, "Get to work," type thing. And they're being chased by creatures called the Lumen. They're being chased by dogmen. They're being chased by other things in this series that are very interesting to me. And, you know, I think that's one of the kind of cooler things. Whoops. I thought I had more artwork for this, but I don't. Okay, well, then what I will do real quick. Whoops. There we go. Is I will quickly get the book. Well, I thought I was going to. I don't know where I placed the actual individual issues right this second. I apologize for that. So this is the artwork that we got to go with, which is good. Still nice, clean art, well colored. I do enjoy the work. It's well written. The animals are all very cat-like, and yet they're learning how to be human, which is, you know, kind of an interesting dichotomy. So I like that. And again, it's science fiction. It's a thinker's book for me, and I like comics that make you think. So that's why I like that particular product. Okay, our next book is called The Infinite Loop. This is volume 1. There are 2 miniseries, The Infinite Loop and Infinite Loop Nothing But the Truth. But Infinite Loop is volume 1, which covers the first miniseries. It was $19.99 cover price. Publisher was IDW Comics. The writer was Perek Cullene, and the artist was Elsa Charretier, and the genre is science fiction romance. The ISBN number is 978 1631404 And this particular book was released in November 2015. And the science fiction story is one that asks the age old question, what would you do? What would you risk for a chance at true love? Meet Teddy, a young woman who lives in the future where time traveling is common practice, and her job is to maintain the status quo by correcting time paradoxes. But when she meets Anno, a time paradox, in quotations, who happens to be the girl of her dreams, Teddy must decide between fixing a time stream or the love of her life, both of which have unique consequences. I gave this one a 4-star out of 5. It's also recommended for 16 up because of the sexual storyline. It does have a sexual connotation. It is obviously a lesbian relationship. A lot of people trash this book because of the lesbian relationship, and that's stupid. What if Teddy was a guy and Anna was a woman? Would you be complaining then? No, come on. The only difference is now you might not have some of the LGBTQ elements in it because it'd be a straight person in a straight relationship, but that would probably make the story a lot more generic and a lot less interesting too as a result. So I'm okay with it being about a lesbian couple. And this is some of the artwork, and that is the artist, Elsa Charretier. Elsa has done quite a bit of other stuff in her career. And she's from France, and she worked at Image on a book called Cowl. She did other things, like she's done Star Wars. She's done stuff for Penguin Random House. Let's see. She's Star Wars Adventures, Star Wars Forces of Destiny. She's done Harley Quinn for DC. She's done the Unstoppable Wasp for Marvel. Just a lot of interesting things throughout her career that, it's a shame that, again, because it's about a woman, I don't really understand that. A gay woman, that's not fair. We don't want to cover that. But anyway, there's some more artwork from the book. And she's talking to her boss about some of the changes and how the people who are trying to affect the time stream change things, and how they're, instead of affecting inanimate objects, they're going after living beings to change the time stream. And so she talks about the infinite loop of what's going on in different fights different things that she's had to correct. But the storyline of the secret relationship she's got with the time paradox girl, I know, is, kind of funny because she's hiding it from her superiors. And of course, now they start tracking her and her friend down. And, you start seeing that the time police, if you will, have their own agenda, which is not uncommon in this kind of storyline. This is not the most original time police, time paradox correctors. That's been done in science fiction before. It's been done in film and television before. What makes this story interesting is the relationship between the two women. because it's not because it's over the top, over the head, pound you with uh, so-called SJW metaphors or nuance so much as it is if we saw this as a man and a woman or even two men, it would be more blunt, more. Hold on a second, my cat's being silly. He heard me talking about that Captain Ginger book, and he wants attention. Say hello. He just wants attention. Hello, this is midnight. Look at the screen. Look at the screen. Anyway, we're still talking about the infinite loop. And as I was saying, the more interesting element of it is the couple, two women in a relationship. So, if we made this two guys, it would probably be which one is going to be the alpha versus the omega, and which one's going to be defending whom and protecting whom from outside threats. Whereas with the women, it's very much a more joint effort together. If it was a man and woman, almost definitely, especially if the male was the one that was doing the time paradoxing, time policing, it would all be about protecting the other, everything from one person's perspective almost. This way, it's from both characters' perspectives. It's more dynamic, more interactive of a story as a result. So that is why I tend to think that is a superior method of storytelling with that particular element involved. And Elsa has become one of the more celebrated creators recently. And, again, French creator working in American comics. You saw the photo of her. You might say, why am I showing photos of some of the creators? There's reasons for that. Different women get treated differently because of their appearance in comics as well in our industry. I've seen a lot of people say rude things about different people, the more attractive they are or less attractive, quote unquote. So there's that problem too, and we'll get into that a little bit later in the show. But we'll go on to the next project here in a moment. And that is Monstrous. And I got the first 4 volumes here. They're each $16.99, I believe. The publisher is, I think actually that volume 1 might be $9.99. I could be mistaken, but I think the highest that their cost is $16.99 an issue, which is they're around 150 to 200 pages a book. These are the collections again. Publisher is Image Comics. The writer is Marjorie Liu. The artist is Sana Takeda. The genre is fantasy horror. And there are 4 different ISBN numbers. I'm not going to read them all off. Just check back with the video. They're listed there. You can write them down. This comic series has been around since 2015 at Image in singles. And let's see if I can find it. I know I have it here. Okay. Her first issue of the series back in 2015. Their first issue sold approximately 37,000 units, which is not bad in our market today. Most independent comics these days are selling under 10K. So, and that's to start. So, for them to be selling 37, it's pretty powerful numbers at that time. However, the trades have been just completely blowing up the charts. As of, let's see if I can get this thing to share the right screen here with you. I'm trying to get the right screen for me to share with you guys, and it's not showing it to me. I don't like that. See if this is the one. Yes. This is like this a year ago. Graphic novels were a big winner, up 12% over the year, thanks to the image trifecta of Saga, Walking Dead, and Monstrous, which finished 1, 2, 3 in unit sales. In other words, it was the third best-selling graphic novel series in the country through comic book shops a year ago. Another example would be, let's see, trying to think here. Trying to find the right columns to share with you guys because the silly thing doesn't want to. If I cut off some of these things, maybe it'll make things a little bit easier for me here. Okay. No, that's not it. Is that the right one? No, that's not the right one. Although that does show you Monstrous #1 from 2015, selling nearly 37,000. And of course, this is 18 a year and a half later. It's down to 13,000. Now, part of the reason that is because of natural attrition. All comics drop in sales, usually anywhere from 40 to 60% over the first year and a half of sales in our market right now. I don't care who the publisher is. I don't care what the book is. I don't care who the creators are involved. That has to do with basically with retailers just not wanting to continually push titles to sell-through numbers consistently, and readership not being willing to stay on board. They wait for the trades as a result. So let's see. This is that one. So let's see if we can find the right one. Yes, that's the right one. Graphic novels went down. Monstrous Volume 2, this is the second trade, tops 10K. Images Monstrous #2 was the first graphic novel to top 10,000 in orders since winter of last year, the previous year, 2016, and only the third all year. That tells you, in terms of the market, that comic book shops aren't carrying the trades out that much, but that's still, the third, only 3 books sell over 10K in trades nationally, and that's one of them. That's because it's one of the most successful storylines going on right now. But you wouldn't know it if you listen to Zach. Zach, I'm not going to put his face up. You've already heard some of his rhetoric, but he's like, "Oh, I'm on issue 22 here. I read the first 2 issues and then I stopped reading because it was just too hard to follow. It was too dull, too slow for me." So I'm in issue 22 now. And it's been talked about, but I don't see why it's being talked about. Well, gee, because it's the third best-selling graphic novel in the country. I think that's probably a damn good reason why. Yep. So why are you knocking it? Because it's by two women creators, and he can't get his book into Image. He can't get his book to sell those kind of numbers through Diamond if he wanted to. So that's why he's saying that stuff. And he's saying it to his people who drink the Kool-Aid so that they won't support and potentially leave him behind in the dust where he belongs. And again, I'm picking on him. Why are you picking on him specifically? He's an easy target. He's the most prominent, most well-known person who does it. There are others, but he's one of the most. He's like the head of the Comicsgate hate group in a way. Him and Ethan Van Sciver, and Ethan does sort of the same thing, but since his talks are 5 or 6 hours long, I don't want to go through a 5 or 6 hour long super chat with hundreds of people that he's running his mouth about, looking for this segment to that segment. I don't want to do that. It's not worth my time. It's not worth your time. But it's there. So we're going to go back here to sharing the screen on reviews. Go back to these four trades. And this is a 17-time award-winning series. It's won numerous Eisners, numerous teen library awards, various other things. It takes place in early 20th century Asia, in that, like the early 1900s, 1800s, I guess. Would that be? Yeah. So it'd be like 1800. No, 20th century is 19. Okay, yeah. All right. Early 1900s of Asia. And tells the story of Micah Halfwolf, which is a teenage girl who shares a mysterious psychic link with a powerful monster. And she is set on learning about and avenging her dead mother. In the course of the story, and I read the story in singles, I read the first 11 issues of this series, and I didn't lose interest in it so much as the book became irregular in terms of me being able to find it. So I haven't read it since then. That's like a couple of years now, but I'm always aware of the product. Even if I'm not reading it, I tend to be aware of some of the more popular books out there. And so the character's second link to a demon actually allows the demon to. She only has one arm, and the other arm's chopped off, and the demon's arm grows out through the missing limb and attacks out other people's stuff mystically. And she's being chased by sorceress, wizards, and other magic users for her energy. They're going to consume her if they can. And because that's what they do, they consume magical beings for their own powers. And that's what this whole thing is about. And she's basically on the run with a friend, and then later other people that befriend her. And if you're familiar with AMC's Into the Badlands television series with Sonny and how he was training the kid that's going to be the next chosen one or whatever, and against all the different clans that want them all, both of them dead, it's kind of like that, only in a comic format with women as the leads instead of two men. And a little more mystical in nature, a little more not so much martial arts and gunplay as mystical, magical fighting, and horror, darkness stuff in it. And I think that's pretty darn cool. And it's so we're gonna go back here and we're gonna show some of the art. And basically, this is where Micah confronts one of the people that is demonic. Um, I'm trying to find here so I can read some of it to you. This woman with the white hair is the one who betrayed Micah's mother and killed her. And she's confronting her and basically threatening at some point to get revenge and kill her. And she basically tells Micah, your mother's betrayal of you is far greater than any harm I did to her. And it's that. Whoop! I got the camera moved over here because I had to try and move it out of the way of the camera so I could read the screen better. But it's about that sort of the mystery of what happened to her mother and trying to find out what actually happened and why she has this demonic connection to the entity that she has. And we're going to go with another quick, whoops, there we go. And this is the next page of sample art. And here she is on the run on the high seas with people being chased on the left. She has a talking cat and a pirate queen and a few other people helping her try to escape while she's being chased by these other people. And then here's one of the entities, which is one of the demons that she has a connection to that can eventually, I think it's one of the ones that has the ability to grow out of her missing arm. So, beautiful artwork by Sana Takeda. A lot of people, again, Zach being another one, he does a review. Like I said, he reviews the first two issues. I read the first two issues, didn't like it, came back in issue 22. Yeah, sure, you're going to really find that you know what you're looking at 20 issues after. I've skipped 20 issues of the story, but I'm going to tell you what I think. No. The other thing is he tries to compliment Liu in his interviews, or not his interview, his review rather, and say, well, yeah, she was really popular when she was at Marvel, and this was wrong. But then if you watch his other videos, he starts tearing down all the work she did at Marvel. I heard she was good, but I'm going to look at her stuff and tear it down some more because I can, because it's my channel. Well, yeah, okay, whatever. The people who buy into that, you're buying poisonous Kool-Aid. That's all I can tell you. Next one is Power Pack. Now, Power Pack is something really interesting. This is a Marvel book. Now, what I'm showing you is a collection with the first three trades, or omnibuses, of the storylines that were produced in the 80s through about 90 or 91. So that's older stuff as far as the actual, when the work was actually done. They're $29.99 each. You can probably find them cheaper on Amazon or find them relatively cheap at a comic book convention or what have you. Definitely look for the trade paperback versions, not the hardcover, because the hardcovers are over $100. Publisher is Marvel. The writer is Louise Simonson. The artist is June Brigman. The genre is science fiction superhero. And I give you the three ISBN numbers again. Volume 1, 978-0785-137-900. Volume 2 is 978-0785-14-5929. And Volume 3 is 978-078-5153054. The story is about 4 pre-teenaged children who who meet a dying alien who is trying to prevent Earth from being blown up by their father's experiment. They each receive powers from the alien as he's dying, and they face off against another alien race that's hell bent on destruction, um, and destroying and getting the experimental device from their father, because it's an energy source that can make nuclear power look obsolete, as well as facing real life troubles like school bullying, homelessness, runaways, kidnapping, pollution, drug abuse, sexual abuse, and other themes. Um, this was probably the most well written comic at Marvel in the 80s that nobody read because it was kids' book. You know, it's about 4 kids, little kids, 3 little kids. Genius writing by Louise Simonson, beautiful artwork by June Brickman. Unfortunately, when I go on Google looking for artwork, it's all the new stuff for Power Pack, all the stuff that's post 1990, 91. There is one Power Pack recent stuff that came out either last year or 2017. There was a one shot that Louise and June did together that has Kitty Pryde and Wolverine in it, and it's June inking herself. But in this particular, the omnibus it's Bob Wyacek inking her. But if you get this Power Pack or you get the one that June inked herself, the one shot, or don't bother with Power Pack as far as I'm concerned, because everybody else at Marvel just doesn't understand that concept. Yeah, I could not find enough art to show you what I really wanted to show you, because it was all pinups. There was no story pages that I could find in color. And unfortunately, my copies of the trades are not at hand. But if you don't want to pay $30 for the trades, you can go to just about any comic shop in America and find Power Pack in singles in the 25-cent bin, 50-cent bin, dollar bin, and take a look at it. Just take a look at it. It's just really wonderful stuff. And June, again, same person who did the Captain Ginger artwork that we talked about a little bit earlier tonight. Very similar art style for the kids. We'll go back real quick here, and oh, okay, something didn't come out right. Let me here we go. This is with Bob Wyacek's art on it. It's a little bit smaller. You really can't tell, but Bob makes the artwork. The line art's a lot thinner and tighter, not as lush and heavier line work that June does with a brush when she's inking, as opposed to quill and tech pens that Bob was more prominently using. There's some just really cool stories. You're going to see stories connecting them to the Fantastic Four and the X-Men, because at one point the kids get kidnapped by a group of mutants, and the X-Men have to come rescue them. They get involved with knowing the Fantastic Four because the Fantastic Four have a kid named Franklin, have a son who's the same age as the youngest, maybe a little bit younger than the youngest member of the pack. And their relationship is fun to watch at different times. So, but this is, to me, is perfect 5-star stuff for all kids, all ages. And if Disney had their common sense cap on, this wouldn't be in development. It would already been made, and it wouldn't be on. I hear it being made for Disney Plus. This thing should have been made 3 or 5 years ago as a full-fledged movie for the Marvel Universe for all ages, separate from all the other nonsense. But now they're going to make it maybe someday, if they can manage it, for Disney Plus and make people pay for it, which I think is kind of sad. It should be free for all the people. Be a great gateway property for the whole Marvel universe for younger audiences. But we'll see what they do. But that's my favorite thing there. And Louise Simonson is one of our top writers everywhere. She's been around for since the late '60s, I want to say, early '70s. Not just as a writer, as an editor. She edited Chris Claremont on X-Men before taking over as co-writer on New Mutants and X Factor in the '80s. She was one of the writers for Superman for a while. Very top-notch writer, and I'm amazed that the so-called haters, Comicsgate, don't rag on her more. Possibly because she's kind of a, I want to call her an elder stateswoman, but more of a, she's not as prominent in the current market. So maybe that's why she hasn't been a target as much as some of these other women have. And we'll talk about another veteran creator here, Ann Nocenti, who also edited X-Men, and is well known for doing Long Shot. And she did some stuff for Vertigo back in the '90s. She did a seminal run on Daredevil. Well, this is her newest book, Ruby Falls. Publisher is Berger Books, Dark Horse. Now, this is a single issue because it just came out yesterday. So the gentleman who asked me about finding something that's recent, you can't get any more recent than that. It's written by Anne, drawn by Italian artist Flavia Biondi. It's a mystery genre book. It's about a young woman who has again, lesbian relationship with another girl who gets caught up in a decades-old murder mystery when her grandmother, who suffers from dementia, begins to tell her about a murder she witnessed. And as the woman investigates, she learns about the town's sordid past, which is what Ruby Falls is, the name of the town that they're in, and the secrets that they have buried. And it's because it does have the relationships with that are not, what we call the so-called norm. Some people might find it inappropriate for younger readers, so I'll say 16 and up. If you're old enough to drive and old enough to understand certain things, you should be able to handle this. But it's also for fans of shows like Twin Peaks. And here are some of the artwork for the book. And this is what the grandmother is remembering seeing. She's describing it to her daughter, and as you can see, someone gets killed. Two people get killed, apparently, with getting hit with a heavy metal trophy in someone's hand. And then there's another more modern stuff, and that's with the daughter walking a dog out there, and the dog got loose, and she's looking for the loose dog that got off the leash. And there's pictures of the two creators. To the left is the artist, and to the right is the wonderful Annie Nocenti. And it's good, solid, clean art, well colored, very clear, evident. Love that second. Let's see, go back to that real quick here. We'll go back here. Loved this stuff over here with the shadow of the rubies signage from the window spread over the fallen corpse there on the floor. Just really well laid out. Chairs, shadows, everything here is just really nicely done. Um, you know, you can't, unfortunately, you can't read the text because it's too small on here, but I'll read it to you. On the bottom panel on the left, um, the younger girl was basically ordered by the guy who did the killing to clean the floor, mop up the floor because it's women's work. And she tried to mop it up fast, but the floor turned pink. Daddy was furious. I don't know why. I liked the new pink floor. Pink being the blood stain on the floor. So I thought that was kind of funny in that respect. Just well, uh, if you think about it, that's coming from a young girl's perspective. Um, like maybe 6 or 7, try and picture that in your head, listen to that in your mind's ear. A little 7 or 8 year old girl, Daddy was furious. I don't know why. I like the pink floor. It's just kind of funny there. Yeah. So yeah, but again, this book probably, I don't know how well the orders are on this book. I can tell you her other burger book, which is called The Seeds, which we'll talk more about next week, has been on delay after 2 issues because of lack of support. So hopefully, folks, this is one just came out. I don't know how many orders there are. I don't know how many they printed and sent to Diamond to get to retailers. But if you like Twin Peaks, if you like murder mysteries, this is something that might be up your alley. Talk to your comic retailers about it. Let them know, because if they don't get enough orders, it might get put on delay, like the Seeds books. In fact, I'm going to see what I can do to get a hold of Annie for next week and see if I can find out some more information about the Seeds and what's going on with that book. But for now, we'll go on to our next book. And that will be Snow Glass Apples hardcover, $17.99. Publisher is Dark Horse Comics. The writer is worldwide best-selling author Neil Gaiman. The artist is the incomparable Colleen Doran, who's been around since the 80s, early 80s, if I'm not mistaken, doing incredible books like A Distant Soil, which is her own creator-owned series. She's worked on countless stuff from Marvel and DC over the years. She's worked on Captain America. She did a series. She did a run on the Legionnaires, Legion of Superheroes. She did Fallen Angels, which was a spin-off of the New Mutants series. She's done all kinds of stuff over the years. They're just too much to name. This just came out last August 7th. The genre is fantasy horror, and the ISBN number is 978-1-50670-979-6. And what this book is a graphic novel retelling of the Snow White fairy tale, which is actually not based on the Snow White fairy tale per se directly, but a prose fiction story that Neil wrote. It's an adaptation of that prose fiction story that he did several years ago, and I believe it won 2 major awards in the prose fiction format, where basically the queen, who does the curse on Snow White, is now the good person. And it's a not so evil queen is terrified of her monstrous stepdaughter and is determined to repel this creature and save her kingdom from a world where happy endings aren't so happily ever after. It's, again, another 5-star. I mean, this is just a gorgeous artwork. Wonderful story. Ages 16 and up. Here's some of the artwork. I don't know if you can see it. Let me see if I can get this to. Nope, it's not doing it. Sorry about that. Here we go. I wanted to try and highlight it and make it larger, but it didn't work. I hope you can see again, the screen really doesn't give you a close enough thing to see just how beautiful this artwork is. Let me see if I can. I actually have the book here with me. Good hardcover. See if we can get a better, closer look at some of this stuff. Now, you may have noticed I was switching through pages to get to those particular images. There was some stuff in between those story pages that I could have shown, but the reason it's 16 and up is because there is a little bit of risque stuff going on, where the king met someone and had a little bit of hanky-panky going on. But again, upwards more for 16 and up, not for little kids. But just really wonderful, wonderful story here. Can't recommend it enough. I had to basically fight Diamond to get this. I special ordered it through my retailer, and like I said, it was released in, let's see, where was it released? It was released on August 7th. And I didn't get it until like middle of last month, like 6 weeks late, because Diamond just, whatever. I don't know if I was the only one who ordered it, so they kind of waited around to give it to my retailer or what. But I had to wait 6 weeks, even though I had pre-ordered the book, so it's supposed to come out. I was supposed to get it when it came out. That's the kind of stuff we deal with in the industry, unfortunately, as fans. But so if you can't get it through your retailer because they say they're sold out or Diamond can't get it, go to bookstores. That's all I can tell you, and that's why I gave you guys the ISBN number so that you can write that down. Go to a bookstore if a comics retailer doesn't have it or can't get it or tells you they can't get it, because there's a place for it. Somebody's got to have it. Top-notch stuff. Now, all those cool books. It's really nice stuff, right? All of that, put it to the side for a moment. Here's where girls really roll and haters drool. All those books combined are nothing compared to the #1 comic book creator in comics right now, and it's a woman. And nobody in the comic industry wants to acknowledge this, especially not these comic gator haters. And her name is Raina Telgemeier. Let me see if I can get the page here to do what I want to do. There we go. This is Raina Telgemeier, and she is the top-selling comic book creator in North America, if not the world right now. She does autobiographical slice of life graphic novels through Scholastic Books. Her first book was called Smile, which came out in 2010. As you can see, it was based on a webcomic she did. It won a Boston Globe Horn Book Award honor title. First time a graphic novel had ever been nominated or won that award. Won a New York Times Book Review Editor's Choice, a Kirkus Review's Best Book of 2010, 2011 American Library Association Notable Children's Book, a 2011 Young Adult Librarian and People's Award Top 10 Great Graphic Novels for Teens pick, and Children's Choice Book Award finalists. Also in 2011, it won the Eisner Award for Best Publication for Teens. Eisner Award is the top award given in comics, basically, by the industry. In 2013, now remember, this is 3 years after the book came out, it won the Intermediate Young Reader's Choice Award from Washington and the Rebecca Caldo Young Book Reader Award, Young Reader's Book Award from Illinois. Over 7 years, 2010 to 2017, that book had spent over 240 times, or 240 weeks rather, on the New York Times bestseller list. Just that one book. How many books stay on a New York Times bestseller list for 240 consecutive weeks? It's supposed to be consecutive, not, I believe, not just weeks in general. 240 weeks is like, geez, what is that? 52 weeks, so 50 goes into 204, almost 4.5 years of being on the New York Times bestseller list. That's pretty damn impressive to me. Her other book, Sisters, which is a sequel to Smile, afforded her another Eisner Award and 117 weeks on the New York Times bestseller list for paperback graphic novels and books. Another novel, Ghost, won her third Eisner Award for Best Publication for Kids ages 9 to 12. Another one of her books, Drama, received 6 different awards promoting LGBTQ awareness and other awards. And collectively, these books and other stuff that she's done of this nature have sold over 7 million copies just in North America in English. I have no idea how much more she's sold overseas in foreign language translations. But if we were going to just take some of these books comparative to everybody else, it would be like her one book sells the same amount as the top 30 books printed, 30 or 40 books in the industry on a monthly basis. So these are some of her books, covers wise. And I recommend it for anybody. I'd say 10 and up, 12 and up for most all these stories. Smile, Sisters, and Guts are all about her personal life, her family life. Drama is a fictional story about high school drama club and the inner the relationships between the people in the drama club and stuff like that. And Ghosts is hold on a second. My computer's freezing up. Okay, back. Sorry about that. Ghosts is about the girl that's in the front there. Um, the little sister, the younger one, is sick with cystic fibrosis, and the older sister, uh, which is the one on the right, they move. The whole family moves to the coast of North California. Um, so basically, they moved to this town in California for the benefits that supposedly the weather uh, will give her for her illness. I don't know enough about cystic fibrosis to say that weather is actually beneficial to people who suffer from that ailment. I'm going to take her at her word for it. I don't see why she would not do the research and know. Um, but anyway, the town has ghosts in it, and the younger daughter wants to meet ghosts, but the older one doesn't want anything to do with them. But at a certain point of time and year, um, when ghosts reunite with their loved ones in town, the older sister must figure out how to put aside her own um, insecurities and fears for her sister's sake and her own. And the reason why is probably, I'm not going to tell you why, but it has to do with um, having understanding of people's mortality and how people stay with us even after uh, they're physically passed from our lives. And not just in terms of physical death, but just people who pass in and out of our lives that leave uh, a mark or an impact on our lives, and how important it is to embrace that and acknowledge it for positive sensibilities rather than negative um, in that respect. Um, so there's that one. Hold on a second. My silly. I'm going to share a little bit more of her art with you guys if I can here. I'm trying to get the right angle for it. There we go. There's some of her artwork. This is from Drama. Oops. Sorry about that. I just want to try and this is not easy to get this particular thing. This is from Scholastic and Google. A little bit of a preview of the book. It just doesn't want to slide down with it that much. Basically, you can see it's a little bit cartoony, um, not simplified. It's just a cartoonist's vision. Um, Talgemeyer is influenced by Lynn Johnston and Kathy Gies-White, and more the comic strip persons more so than the Marvel DC look. And that actually makes it more appealing to teens and younger audiences than some of the stuff that Marvel and DC and other people do. I think that's a good thing. Although I've seen people like Eric Larson and your boy Zach and others complain about it. Obviously, somebody she likes. So as you can see, it's an interesting teenage uh, stuff going on there. And I apologize for some of the silence. I'm reading along and trying to get it right. Hopefully, I'm not putting it too fast for viewers. Um, but again, I like the coloring. I like the design work. It's again, it's a little bit so to speak simplistic. I guess some people would say, some of the fanboy crowd out there. But again, I think this is really good work for hitting young YA audiences and stuff like that. So, that's kind of what her work looks like. And now, if I remember correctly, Smile and Sisters and some of these are also in black and white as opposed to color. I could be mistaken on that. It's been a while since I've read Telgemeier in my own collection. And unfortunately, I got just so much stuff I can only get access to right now. So, let's see what else we have here. That covers reviews for this week. And that's just a small thing. Now, like I said, Raina, 7 million books sold in 7 to 9 years. I can't see where that's bad. Can't see where that's ruining comics. It's just not being sold in comic book shops. It's being sold in bookstores and schools because comic book retailers are like, that don't sell in my store. That's ugly artwork. Eric Larson said so. People like Richard Meyer, your boy Zach, say so. What sells in your store? Well, we'll talk about that in a future episode. That being said, I think I've shown tonight that there is a wide variety of styles, a wide variety of genre and content done by women creators currently. This is just part one. Next week we'll continue. We're going to talk about artwork by and works by Jill Thompson, Becky Cloonan. Probably I'm going to try to get some. I'm trying to think of her name. Nalo Hopkinson stuff. Quite a few other people as well. Won't be as long as this episode though, because I want to get into again more so why these women are being overlooked. This week was more of a hey, here's some cool stuff, but next week we're going to talk a little bit more about why the women are getting overlooked. And so come back next week. And thanks for watching for this week. And hold on a second. We got a what's going on here? Frozen again. There we go. You want to find me elsewhere on the internet? You can find me at facebook.com, Lewis.WrightRaven, at DeviantArt at www.deviantart.com/BrightRaven, here at YouTube at Quoth the Raven. My email that you can reach me at is quoththeraven, LBR72 @gmail.com. The podcast is normally here on Thursdays at 9 p.m. And so, in the meantime, again, I apologize. Until next week.